What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Colton, and on this channel we talk about personal finance. If that interests you, go ahead, like, comment, subscribe, and if you do subscribe, hit the notification bell so whenever I upload a video, something like this, you will get notified wherever you are, whenever you are, and if you are busy, you can always come back and watch the video. So today I want to talk about how to build wealth in your teens, and you could kind of merge this with, at least for me, being in my early 20s, teenage years / young adult years. So I like to categorize it as anywhere from your junior high, high school, onwards to your college years, because it's really critical during this time to take advantage of time, good money habits, and then just reap the benefits. So I'm going to first start off with focusing on something called the baby steps. Now, if you found my channel, maybe you have already a little bit of taste of personal finance and you may have come across somebody called Dave Ramsey. If you don't, I'll link a couple of his videos in the description. Check him out. Earlier on my personal finance kind of journey, I modeled a lot of my habits off of him. Some of the things I agree upon, some of them I don't, but nonetheless, it is with the right intent to help you be prosperous in the future. So without that said, let's begin. Number one, the first thing you want to do is save up an emergency fund. Now you may say, how does that building wealth, an emergency fund? The point of building an emergency fund is not necessarily to build you wealth, but think of it as a way to deter you from going more into debt, hence stopping you from building wealth. So Dave Ramsey, if you want to, like the guy I mentioned before, if you want to model after his baby steps, baby step number one is to build in $1,000 emergency fund. Now, maybe depending on where you are financially, maybe if you have a job or you just live in your home, not working, you may say $1,000 is a little bit or a lot. But I would say for your teenage years, $1,000 is a good cushion for most major expenses. If you have a car, need an oil change, a flat tire, if you need to get a cab to get home, whatever it may be, $1,000 will suffice. Number two is to pay off all debt that you have. And now most people would say this is the biggest hurdle. Especially if you are going to college and maybe you don't have a scholarship and you say, hey, I'm going to go out of state. It's 30,000 years tuition and board. How am I going to pay that off immediately? The point isn't to rush the process. The point is to just go along the journey and don't miss any steps. See, listen here. If you focus on paying off your debt, a lot of times the interest rate is set by Congress, thankfully, but if you just forget about it and you go pursue a master's, PhD, somewhere along or somewhere further than a bachelor's, you will sit and forget it, and you may be surprised how much interest compounds against you. You may have, hypothetically, a $10,000 student loan, and you sit and forget it. You start a family, you go for higher learning, and you spend it on luxurious things, a new car, new shoes, and then you look back 10 years later, 20 years later, and maybe the interest, depending on the interest rate, could be $20,000, $30,000. And that is something that you don't want to do. You want to have money working for you. So number three, after you pay off all your debt, after you have your $1,000 emergency fund, what you want to do is build up that cushion more sizable to your actual expenses. So depending on when you start your journey and when you get to step three, you may have a larger expense or larger expense on a monthly basis. Now, Dave Ramsey, what he says in the third baby step is 3 to 6 months. So think of it as your car insurance, your health insurance. Think of it as utilities, water, electric, trash, whatever it may be. Take that all in consideration, write it down on a notepad and calculate it. And again, very simple math. Calculated by month and then multiply by 3 to 6 depending on your risk. Now this is the part that is very interesting that Dave Ramsey mentions in step 4. Invest 15% of your income. So if you get paid monthly, weekly, or twice a month, you want to invest 15% every single time. Now you may say, why only 15%? Depending on how frugal you are, maybe these steps from 1 to 3 make you a more frugal person. Then feel free to invest 20, 30, 40, because that is the thing that I wanted to touch upon. Live below your means. If you live below your means and you always track your expenses and your revenue or your income and you stay above the water, so if you're always making more than you expend, then you will always be fruitful in how much you build wealth over time. So invest 15%, 20, 25, 30. If you have a 401k through your employer, contribute the percentage that equals the match that your employer is giving you, because that is just free money on the table. I promise you, 401k, if you have one, take it. Pretend that, hey, once I put in this account or once it's taken out my paycheck, I lost it, because when it comes time to take it out, you will be grateful. And then the last thing I want to mention, and I mentioned this in past videos, is kind of an extension of the investing, the 15% and the 401k. To branch off of that, what should you invest in an early age? Invest in a Roth IRA. Okay, if you have a job, whether it is just something that the IRS can track, if it's your McDonald's, if it is just refereeing at the local rec, whatever it is, if you get a paycheck, open up a Roth IRA. It could be at any establishment. Just make sure you open one that has low expense ratios for whatever ETFs or mutual funds you have, and then invest in the total stock market, or you can invest in the S&P 500, which is essentially the total stock market. It's just the 500 largest companies. But go ahead and do that, and just make sure that, again, the expense ratio is low, and invest as much money as you can afford without knowing that, hey, I need to take this out in the future. Now, aside from the baby steps, aside from the investing, what else can I do? If you're from a junior high age to high school, the next thing that you'll be thinking about, and this is slowly transitioning to the young adult age, is college. Now, that's a big decision. A couple years out of college, wish I could have done a couple things differently. Number one, what I wish I could have done differently is apply for more scholarships. Whatever age you are, Google is the best friend that you have right now. Go on Google, type in, hey, what scholarships are available in this region at this age, and see what pops up, see what the requirements are. Sometimes it could be something as simple as just writing a 1-paragraph essay just saying why you're the best student in your grade, why you're the most athletic, why you contribute the most to your community. For me, in my personal experience, what I did, and it's gonna sound funny, but this is a true story. One of the only scholarships I did, and again, I wish I did more, which is why I'm making this video, I wrote a paragraph explaining the hardships and the benefits of being both Korean and American. And then the nice thing about it was I won. I got enough money to cover my textbooks, and I got a free lunch out of it. So it was just nice that the organizers provided that. I was able to cover my textbooks for about a semester or two, and there we go, not going into debt. Next, what we're going to talk about is researching a career. So now you say, okay, Colton, I've researched all these scholarships, I've applied for so many, and maybe I have school partially covered, fully covered, depending on if you're in a state, out of state, what school, how prestigious it is, what your background is. What you want to focus on is, what do you want to go to school for? Seriously, what do you want to go to school for? You'll be surprised how many kids, when I went to my, when I was an undergrad, my first year of college as a freshman, how many kids told me, hey, I'm undecided. I don't know what I want to do. And that's not a problem. That's not a problem to be undecided. The problem is year 2, year 3, they said the same exact thing. Hey Colton, I'm still undecided. I have no idea. And these people were mostly not on scholarships, so they are going to a 4-year university, no scholarship, and they have no idea why they're at the school, because maybe some schools they are known for different programs. The thing I would recommend is, if you are on this path, it's not a bad thing. It's nothing to be ashamed of. But what you should do is, if you are approaching, graduating your senior year, look into your local community college. What you can do is take the prereqs that you normally would do in your freshman and sophomore year at a 4-year university, finish that, get some internships, spend more time with your family and close friends, because you don't know when you're gonna have that opportunity again, and then transfer to a 4-year university. Spend that last 2 years, especially if you don't have as many scholarships. It'll save you a lot of money and a lot of debt, and then just go on about your academic career. And then your future self, when you have a more developed career, you'll thank yourself. And the last thing that I want to talk about is credit cards. Now, when you think of credit cards, you think of, oh my gosh, this preposterous high interest rate. If you Google it, it could be from 13% to 25%. But don't be alarmed. Think of it as a debit card. If you can't afford it, don't get a credit card. If you can afford it, get a credit card. What I mean is, if you say, let's just say you have to make $100 expense, right? You have a debit card and a credit card. Assuming you have good habits and you're going to make the payments at full by the statement balance or when the statement is due, go ahead and use $100 on your credit card and pay it off immediately. You reap the benefits of purchase protection, you reap the benefits of some, a little bit of cash back. It's not going to make a huge difference, but it's still better than nothing. And the ultimate thing of why you're doing this is to build up your credit score. Your credit score is something that you may not think about until you're after college, but you'll need it for when you apply for a home, when you apply for a mortgage, when you want to get a car, they look at your credit score. When you want to open up a new credit card, they look at your credit score. These are things that on a range from 0 all the way to 800, 800 being perfect, is something that you want to perfect over time. It's just something that will prove to the lender that you are serious about your money and you are serious about making good financial habits and you are going to pay them back. Now, these are the things that I think if you were to dissect it and follow both accumulation of the Dave Ramsey's baby steps that I mentioned up until that point. So let's start again. Number 1, save up an emergency fund, $1,000. 2, pay off all your debt, whatever it may be, minuscule or not minuscule. 3, allocate 3 to 6 months of emergency expenses. And then 4, invest like crazy. Invest 15%. You could go up, but start at 15%. If there was a 401k employer sponsored plan, go ahead and meet the match so you get that free money. And then open up a credit card. If you're not comfortable opening up a credit card, look into something of your parents' credit cards. Ask them to be an authorized user. Essentially what this means is you will be able to use a credit card under their name. And again, you have to have a good relationship with your parents. I advise it. But you can go ahead and learn about the repercussions or the building blocks of how to use a credit card successfully, and work with your parents on this, see what they say. Maybe they'll let you use it for certain expenses and see how trustworthy you are. But these are good habits to form. Apply for scholarships, whether you're going in-state, out of state, apply like crazy. There is no early time because each scholarship has different requirements, and who's to say that you are just a somebody or nobody, however you want to interpret it, who doesn't meet any qualifications. Nonsense. And then last, what you want to do, invest and research into yourself and why you want to go to college and what career path you want to take. It's okay to be undecided, but if that is the case, think about where you really want to go. Maybe look at a community college. Maybe think about knocking out those prereqs, hanging around with your family, being around the community, and then transferring to a 4-year university or college afterwards. And this, you guys, is just something I wanted to build. Again, this is just something that I wanted to include and make a video about. I think it's super critical, something that I am only a couple years out of that teenage to young adult range. But if I could go back 5 to 10 years, I would do everything completely different. And that is why I hope whoever is out there watching this video and who feels a little insecure about their money, they can kind of look upon these different steps and make a wiser decision that I did at my age. And with that said, guys, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you love the video. Share the video with somebody, whether it's your peers in high school, junior high, if it's maybe your guardian or parent who could use this video about how to start investing in themselves, paying off debt. Although this video is targeted towards a certain demographic, these are habits that everybody deals with until they pass. Whether it's debt, who's to say that you could be $90 and not in debt? You can. And so, share the video. It really does help out the channel. It helps me and encourages me to put out more content like this, even after a long day of work. And I'll go ahead and, like I mentioned earlier, I'll link a couple of videos of Dave Ramsey in case you want to check out his channel and just kind of get a taste of, being more in the realm of what is personal finance. And, because the whole point of Dave Ramsey is his show. If you look on YouTube, he gets a lot of call-ins. That's basically what his channel is. A lot of call-ins for people around the USA saying that they have this dilemma and how he would handle it, or how he would, if he could be in their shoes, how he would handle it. And most of the times it's exactly what I just told you, going through those baby steps. There are a couple more baby steps, 5, 6, 7, that I didn't mention in this video. But if you look it up, Most of the time it doesn't apply to you if you're a teenager or a young adult. It deals more with saving for college fund for your kid, paying down a house, stuff like that. But look into it, it's interesting. I'll also include the links towards opening up a Roth IRA, links onto what is a 401k if you want to know more about it. Maybe I passed over too quick. And with that said, guys, I really do appreciate all the love and support and just seeing this channel grow and putting out the content. And with that said, guys, see you next time. If you have any suggestions on some future content, let me know.